I did it. I'm signed in. I'm signed in to the stream, as we say. I'm trying a different background color. I think it's a little intense though, and I don't know if I can adjust it. Ooh, that's better. Okay, I'm adjusting my. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. GIF. That is what is going on. I am going to adjust this a little bit more. This is something I could have done in the last 10 minutes when I was sitting here, sort of thinking about what to do. Hello, Chris. How are you doing? Thank you for all the support and for all the posts and all that sort of good stuff. I am going to have a little bit of a different schedule today. It will be Croc. It will be Croc. And by the way, what time is it for you? You're on the East Coast, is that right? If you're on the East Coast, this is a like late morning, almost lunch kind of thing. I can't figure out what a good time is to do this. Ideally for me, it would be like 8 p.m. Pacific time, but 11:40 East Coast. Okay, so like pre-lunch. It's a little bit of a weird time. The way that I've figured out like when I can do this is in between the time when I drop the kids off at school to the time that I start work around 9:30. I start work properly around 9:30. And this seems to be a good time. The evening is tough because after the kids go to bed, I have to help with lunches, clean up, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Open to feedback on timing, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So um, yeah, consistency is the main thing. I think you're, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because it kind of like if folks want to join in and they have the ability, they will, as long as they know what's happening. Otherwise, it's sort of, you know, good luck, go with God, and see who joins. So maybe I'll stick with eight Wednesdays at 8:40 for a little bit and just sort of see how that goes. I also do like try and go exercise before the workday, but this seems like a fun way to do that and not do it for one day. So, all right, well, so okay, I have I have to admit something. I have an admission to make, which is that originally I was going to do Croc for the PlayStation, The Legend of the Gabos, Gabos, and I will still do Croc. It has maybe the longest story section of any manual I've ever read, so this one might be a little bit of a let's say marathon. And then the other one was going to be my beloved by dropping things. My beloved Bayou Billy. I love it. It's very flashy there, but this game has my favorite box art. It's got my favorite ideas. One might say it's one of the best video games of all time. However, the manual is actually extremely light on things to read, and it's mostly just visual. It's a lot of cool art of characters and all that. And so what I'm going to do is hold off on using Bayou Billy for right now because I want to get a camera that I can actually show the stuff on. So what I'm going to do instead, if time permitting, is I'm going to follow up Croc with Contra Shattered Soldier. I don't know what the manual looks like. I don't know how good it is. All I know is that Contra Shattered Soldier also one of the greatest games of all time. Let's be very honest about that. So we'll get going. Go ahead. It's just us for right now, but I like that. A nice just sort of hang out. Thanks for joining me, man. I do appreciate it a ton. All the support is super duper appreciated as I figure this thing out and just sort of have fun with it. I have no grand aspirations or ideas of how any of this goes, so I'm just sort of having fun. But we got Croc, Legend of the Gabos, and that is around a 30-page manual. It's a 30-page manual. Croc is great. I love Croc. Croc is one of my favorites. I played the heck out of Croc when I was a teenager, as all cool teenagers do. Instead of going out on a Friday or Saturday, I was sitting home playing Croc. And you know what? It was the right move. So we'll go ahead and read a little bit about Croc, The Legend of the Gabos, a platformer by the good folks at Argonaut of Star Fox fame, among other things. Um, and I'm actually going to find out. I would like to know. This game does have credits at the end, but it doesn't say, I think, who wrote the manual. I may need to figure out at some point who wrote the manual to Croc. Uh, who wrote the Book of Croc? Because there is so much here. So, the beginning, The Legend of the Gabos. in which the Gabos are described. That's how you know this is going to be a long one when they give you a breakdown within there. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm just gonna like this is one page. This is one page of at least five. We'll see how we do here. Who were the Gabos? Examine ancient paintings from the time of their civilization, and you will find that the Gabos were a short, furry people who could be politely described as gerbilesque. But what of their soul, their character? One historian wrote that the Gabos were among the most advanced civilizations of their day, making great strides in science and literature. A people whose intelligence, quote, shines like a beacon in the night, unquote. It should be noted that this historian was himself a Gabo, and not only made numerous grammatical errors in his account, but also misspelled Gabo. No, the Gabos were a simple people, a race whose greatest inventions were edible deodorant and the wind powered cow moistener. In over 2,000 years of existence, the Gabos only sent three of their kind to college, and two of those were returned postage due. Okay, so they weren't the sharpest pins in the cushion, but were they lovable? You bet. So lovable that they would often keep each other as pets. I'm just going to stop right there. That doesn't sound like love. That doesn't sound lovable. Um, but oddly enough, it was their very lovability, their very kind hearted innocence, that set in motion a chain of events that would send the Gabos plummeting toward a terrifying fate, a fate worse than death, a fate so frightening that those with heart conditions may wish to stop reading now, in all quotes. And then they say, although it's really not that frightening. Part 2, in which a crocodile is found. Yeah, wind powered cow moistener is certainly a series of words. That's right. It is a concept that I am trying to wrap my head around right now, and I don't know that I really want to wrap my head around it. In which a crocodile is found. It all started one morning in the third month of the year of the soup spoon, and this is the rare manual with like little you get a little number. I forget what it's called right now. You get a little number at the end of the thing, and then you go to a next page and it's like here's an addendum. So the year of the soup spoon. I'm going to tell you what the year of the soup spoon is. At the start of each year, the Gabo high priestess would announce the kitchen utensil that, when put down their pants, would bring good luck. Gabos took this very seriously, although some began to question the practice during the year of the electric can opener. Um, Telling you, man, Croc, it's a good game. King Rufus the Intolerant, ruler of the Gabos, was down by the riverbank watching the sunrise. Now, there's also a note about King Rufus the Intolerant, and that reads, people far and wide had heard of King Rufus the Intolerant and feared him for his name alone. Of course, the Gabos knew his full name was King Rufus the Lactose Intolerant, and therefore only feared him after a big bowl of cottage cheese. I'm telling you, I want to know who wrote this. He had just finished breathing a sigh of relief that, once again, the sun had returned, when suddenly a small basket floated ashore. He and his group of Gabo subjects huddled around it. Peering inside, they saw a baby crocodile. Naturally, they assumed he must be the early leader in the annual midget crocodile basket race. Not that there had ever been such an event, but you never know about these things, and many of the Gabos placed bets just to be on the safe side. After a couple of hours, when no other baskets had come by, the Gabos decided that perhaps there was no race, or that it had been called off the night before by crocodiles who shared their concern that the sun had gone away for good. The Gabos were at first wary of the little reptile, but were quickly won over by his vulnerability and inquisitive nature. King Rufus decided that the Gabos would raise the crocodile as one of their own, and he himself would care for it and instruct it in all the ways of the Gabos. The Gabos fell in love with their new charge. As he was a crocodile, they began to call him Crocodile, but then someone thought of a clever new name for him, Croc. Although, and this is parenthetically, although to some of the Gabos he will always be known as Socks or Choo Choo McBoogie. Croc learned quickly from his Gabo friends. He surprised them with just how Gobbo like he was. He could sing their anthem backwards and forwards and won every Gobbo dance contest he entered. In fact, little Croc was so Gobbo like that it had never even occurred to him to take a single bite out of a Gobbo. As far as he was concerned, he was a Gobbo. And thus, a time of great joy reigned in Gobbo Valley. Croc was healthy, King Rufus was happy, and his subjects hadn't had so much fun since the year of the 3-minute egg timer. Then Croc grew. Um, the other nicknames would be classic video game trivia questions. I will ask at the end of this and see if anybody remembers. I probably won't even remember. Just as a reminder, Mr. Fun Socks or Choo Choo McBoogie. Also, I do like the idea of the year of the 3-minute egg timer, given the given what it is. This is very good. Then Croc grew. We are halfway there. In which Croc is a gobbo no more. This is where the story turns tragic. In one fantastic growth spurt, Croc grew as tall as 3 gobbos stacked on top of each other. He started eating like crazy. For breakfast alone, he ate over 150 buckets of peas. While walking, he would accidentally smash through buildings and trip over homes. A simple game of patty cake with friends would lead to multiple contusions and internal bleeding. Despite his friend's best efforts to brush off these accidents, Croc began to feel out of place in the Gobbo Valley. Just as Croc decided to do something about this, a Gobbo ran past him screaming, Dantinus! Dantinus. Dantinis. Dantinus. In which trouble comes to Gobbo Valley. The Gobbos had long told stories of the Dantinis, a band of villains. It's Dantinis, like martinis, Dantinis. A band. I thought it was one guy. It's a band of villains known far and wide for their ruthless burning, wanton looting, and marvelous singing voices. It says at the bottom, the Dantini Glee Club would have won all the big choral contests had they not been disqualified for eating the judges. What was worse was that whenever there were Dantinis, Baron Dante could not be far behind. King of all villains, Baron Dante was stronger than 1,000 Dantinis, and he had a long established hatred for all things Gobbos. He had seen the Gobbos and Croc being blissfully happy and decided that enough was enough. It was time for the Gobbos to suffer. The valley swarmed with Dantinis as they captured Gobbo after Gobbo and threw them into cages. Dante watched it all, laughing his horrible laugh. King Rufus knew he had to save Croc. He tail swiped the gong that sat in the center of the village and it rang, summoning Beanie the bird. She appeared immediately, and King Rufus instructed her to whisk Croc away to safety. Rufus looked at Croc. You're our only hope, is what he said. I'm guessing that's what a Gobbo's voice sounds like. Before he could say anything, Beanie spirited Croc away in a shower of magical sparklies, just as Baron Dante snatched up the king in his iron hand, in which Croc realizes his calling. Baron Dante had taken over all of Gobbo Valley. He used his magical powers throughout the land, turning good creatures to evil. Ladybugs, ducks, lizards, fish, and mountain goats all became horrific monsters under his command. Baron Dante was under Dantini guard throughout his new kingdom, so that if he needed someone to taunt or even bring to tears, or if he needed someone to taunt or bring to tears, a cute little Gobbo would always be nearby. This guy's a real dick. The Gobbos, meantime, being a highly social group, were distraught after being separated from one another. Baron Dante kept King Rufus as a personal pet, locked in a cage in the back of his castle. Rufus was taunted day and night by Dantinis. He consoled himself in these dreadful hours that at least Croc was out of the Baron's reach. This is sad. Meantime, Croc and Beanie the bird watched as their homeland was turned into Dante's playground. Beanie told Croc that he must act, but Croc was confused. What could he do against the might of Baron Dante? Beanie grabbed him by the straps of his backpack and shook him with all her little bird strength. You're the only chance they have. You must help. Can you imagine what it's like for a Gobbo being all alone? Croc sniffed. He could very easily imagine what that was like, and he felt even more alone than he had before. Straightening himself up, he said to Beanie, "All right, but I'm going to need your help." Here, the legend becomes fuzzy. Historians are unsure as to whether Croc was actually successful in saving his friends. But one thing is for certain, from that point on, he became the greatest champion the Gabos ever had. Da, da, da. That's Croc. I am I I wanted to read Croc today because, as you could tell, there was a lot of effort put into it. They had a lot of fun with it. It's very silly and it goes on for a long time. I'm pretty impressed by this. This is a great example to me of the, what made manuals so fun. You get a game, you take it home. Maybe you can't play it right away. Maybe you don't have time to play it right away. Maybe you're an adult and you have kids, and you can't play it until they go to bed, and then you're too tired, and then you don't get to play it until the weekend, and then they've got play dates and. But you can read the manual, and you can read about the legend of the Gabos and how Croc, or his alternate names, if we remember, which were uh what were his other names? Oh no. Was it Mr. Funny Socks and Choo Choo McBoogie? That's the key. Um yeah, well in chat now much of that much text would be AI generated. It's really true. Chewy Chewy something. Choo Choo McBoogie maybe? Yes, I think a lot of it would be AI generated and it would lose all of its appeal because I think you have to read this with the understanding that a person came up with it to find it amusing. I think that's the case with all this stuff. I don't know. Like, this is not a brave take or a particularly well informed take, but here I am on the internet. And I'm just going to say that if something is not authored by people, if there is a story that is not authored by people, it just loses I just lose all interest in it even conceptually. I just don't. It's like it needs to be coming from somewhere, even if it's not the most heartfelt thing. Whatever. I just need it to come from people. If this were AI generated, it would be terrible. And also, if it were AI generated, and if this game were AI generated, you would not get the credits at the back of this game. You would just have a credit that says computer, and we wouldn't get it. I'm going to read a few of the folks who made the game. This was published in the States by Fox Interactive and was developed by Argonaut, as was the grand tradition of the time. Loads of folks got their names in the credits. So, in the case of Croc, Legend of the Gabos, um, I want to read the testers first. So, the quality assurance lead for Fox Interactive was Michael Dunn. If any of them hit him up and let them know. Michael Dunn was the QA lead for Fox Interactive. The quality assurance team was Eric Acevo, excuse me if I mess up any pronunciations, Jackson Hameter, Jennifer Kelly, Eric Larson, Eric with a K, Allison Lund, Bruce Maxon, Harish Rao, Teresa Rizzo, Seth Roth, and Mike Schneider. And somebody with a PhD in gobology was Neil Alsip. And I'm wondering if that's who wrote the manual. Also, the name Neil Alsip sounds very familiar to me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So that's that. Argonaut, the development team's test team, was led by Nathan Burlow, and the testers are Anna Lark, Howard Scott, Roger Davies, Nick Rodriguez, Chris Tudor Smith, and Ashley Rubenstein. So if you know any of those folks, you know, let them know. Thank you. This is a pretty clean game. I had heard something at one point that it was originally being designed to be pitched to Nintendo as a Yoshi game, which is why we got kind of this dinosaur dude. I don't know if that's true. I don't even remember where I read that, so could just be something I'm saying, and it's based in absolutely nothing. But that's Croc. That's Croc. Um, yeah. I think triangulating these names, figuring out where they come from, where they're at. The Argonaut team was obviously in the UK, and I am curious. I'm curious what they're doing now. I don't know that QA was treated a whole lot better back then than it is now, but hopefully some of them stayed in and got to do cool stuff in the industry. Um, I will move on to another game. As I said earlier at the beginning, let's see, Croc. I'm gonna look up as well. Oh, you know what this is gonna do? It's gonna crash my computer. Okay, so the secret is that I'm on a very old computer, and it is a PC. I'm also not used to using, this is so embarrassing. I'm not used to using a PC. I'm a Mac guy, and I'm not what you would consider to be especially technically savvy. Um, so, which is also why I don't have music, or I don't have an intro, or I don't have any other fancy things. But yes, I will also be going through this afterwards, taking a look at who made this game. Again, I just it's just so nice to be able to see who made this stuff. So, as I mentioned, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's false advertising before. I was going to read from the Legend of Bayou Billy. Legend of Bayou Billy deserves its own time in the swamp because it is gorgeous. The art in there is amazing, and there's almost not a, there's like very little writing, so not a lot to do there. So what I did instead was I picked out another game, sight unseen in terms of the manual at least, and I figured that I would go ahead and read Contra Shattered Soldier. This game is so good, and I'm gonna make a bold claim right now, and nobody can get mad at me for it. Bold, very brave claim. This is the best Contra game. So, Contra Shattered Soldier, the best Contra game. You heard it here first from Konami on the PlayStation 2 sometime in God knows when, the early 2000s, back when Konami of America was at 1400 Bridge Parkway in Redwood City. Um, as a kid, as a teenager, bold indeed, it is a bold take, but I am too deep in now. It is part of my personality now. This is the best Contra game. Um, as a kid, there were or a teen as a teen, there were so many game studios along the peninsula, Redwood City, Foster City, San Mateo, like all those areas, that I was like, I have to move there. I have to live there. I did not, and I would never be able to afford it now. But it was very exciting. The idea of living somewhere nearby Konami's like American publishing wing was extremely exciting to me. Um, yeah, so yes, is you didn't have memories of playing this as a kid, which makes it tough to believe, as it is a key factor in Contra quality. That is so true. The first Contra, the primary Contra you played when you were a kid, is the best Contra. And for me, I was playing Contra Shattered Soldier when I was a freshman in college in Florida. I lived in Florida for 1 year, and boy, was it hot. And we didn't want to go outside. And I got this game at, Electronics Boutique for maybe 10 bucks college money. And my roommate and I played the hell out of it together, co-op. And that's probably why it's my favorite. Additionally, because it's objectively the best game in the series, among other things. But actually, it is really good. It is really good. Uh, I will tell you about what says on the back. It is the ultimate run and gun shooter is here. Contra Shattered Soldier brings classic, fast paced shooting action to the PlayStation 2 computer entertainment system. Computer entertainment system on the back here isn't capitalized, and I'm curious if that was okay with Sony. As an unknown alien army invades the Earth, Bill Reiser and his partner Lucia blast through intense firefights in an attempt to stop the invasion and save the human race. With nonstop action, advanced weaponry, and hordes of nasty aliens, Contra Shattered Soldier blows the lid off traditional action games. Yeah, eat shit, action games. Contra Shattered Soldier is going to own you completely. They're right about the nasty aliens. There's one boss in here, which is a like worm type creature in a meat grinder, and when it dies, it goes through the meat grinder. It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. Yeah, get owned, action games. Get out of here. Now, I'm gonna make another bold claim. PlayStation 2 is not my favorite console. I like it. It's good. It's also got a lot of really good games, but it's not a system that I have a like undying fondness for. It's not a Dreamcast. It's not an N64. It's not an NES for me. It's just sort of like this area where console gaming, you might say it's a golden age of console gaming. There's a lot of amazing stuff on there, but for me, there's just not as much of a I don't know, like a texture to it. There isn't something that I look at it and I say, this is PlayStation 2, if that makes sense. So for me, I don't, but what I do like, and part of that I think is just the DVD cases. DVD cases always feel kind of, I'm getting bold. I'm getting bold. I'm getting ready for a work day. And I'm getting bold. I also haven't eaten breakfast yet, but I have had coffee. So, we'll see where we are in 20 minutes. But I think some of it is like the DVD cases. There's something about it that feels I don't know. I don't know. It's not that exciting to me. I also sort of dipped out of games a little bit around this era. I think just with like going to college and all that kind of stuff. I still played them as as we see here, but it didn't have as hard of a tight of a hold on me, so that might be part of it too. Although I do remember getting my PlayStation 2 and I do remember playing Time Splitters, and I do remember that being a big moment in my life. So who knows? Maybe I'm just saying stuff because it's Wednesday morning. But that was the other game I was thinking about reading was Haze. But I want to do I want to do a free radical day one day where I just go through it. Everybody here knows my love for free radical. So I'm gonna go ahead and read from the manual now that I've talked and made some bold claims that I'll never be able to live down. Contra Shattered Soldier. I do like the space of the DVD cases gave us big ass books to read. So I like that. I think this is good. Yeah, Second Sight. I have, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I have Second Sight, but it was a used copy from like Hollywood Video. So it doesn't have the manual. So I need to get the manual to Second Sight. I know I could read it online, but I think it's nice to sit and read with a piece of paper. So I need Second Sight, and I think I've got everything else. So yeah, Free Radical Day coming up. Um, Maybe I'll tell Dr. Doak on the internet and get his approval. Post-apocalyptic world. That's the first thing. That's what we need to know about Contra Shattered Soldier. Humans are trying to move forward and recreate society. However, a new threat emerges to attack the remnants of humanity. Blood Falcon has emerged again to strike fear into humanity and push them to the edge of extinction. The army puts up a fight, but the forces of humanity are being pushed farther and farther back. The government makes a tough choice with deep regret to call forth a criminal. They would never do that. And then there's a quote: "This plague on humanity must be fought with another scourge of humanity." End quote. And thus, Bill Reiser has been called forth again. The man that was savior of humanity during the alien wars, and also the most feared and despised criminal to roam the earth, is back. I don't remember Alien Wars. I don't remember why Bill Reiser is so hated and loved, but he's an oh, a special A class criminal. Bill is ranked as the highest enemy threat to humanity. His crimes include murdering his fellow soldier Lance Bean. It's a great name. Taking over an ultramagnetic weapons facility and causing mass destruction around the planet. Okay, yeah, I'll buy it. All right. He was a devil responsible for wiping out 80% of the Earth's population. When he was captured, he was sentenced to 10,000 years in prison and put in cryogenic stasis to serve out his sentence. There's so much happening here. I gotta back up. I love that they say he was a devil response. They're not doing this like this isn't written in the tone of like a newspaper or anything from the day. This is the manual is telling us that he was a devil responsible for wiping out 80% of Earth's population. I also appreciate the 10,000 sentence. Not sure it was worth their time to keep him alive for it in cryostasis. I'm not a carceral guy, but this seems it seems unwise. But I guess it worked out for their best because they needed to bring him back for some reason. The time for revenge is upon us. The uncontrollable beast has been unleashed upon the hellish battlefield again. So I guess you got to fight fire with fire. And that brings us to the characters, starting with Bill Reiser. Bill was hailed as a war hero after he and his partner, Lance Bean, I still love the name, Lance Bean, stopped the alien invasion. After the war, he was jailed for crimes against humanity and the murder of Lance. he has been released to neutralize Blood Falcon. But then there's Lucia, a cyborg created to be the ultimate soldier. Demented genius Dr. Geo Mandrake. This game has good names. Dr. Geo Mandrake originally planned to use alien DNA to create cyborgs for his own nefarious plans. However, he inadvertently thwarted his own plans. The military then appropriated the concepts and completed Lucia. There were some parts of the research that could not be duplicated, thus, mass productions of the model cannot be done currently. She has been assigned as Bill's partner as well as his dog. Enemy Commander. The leader of Blood Falcon is a major threat to humanity. His identity and motives are shrouded in mystery. I love, it's not going to show up on the screen. I love the design of this dude here, and I can't even see it. It's really hard to see. This is why I need, that is a good example of why I need a separate episode to do Bayou Billy so that I can get a camera that actually shows the things I'm doing and looking at and not just a confused mess where I'm going backwards because the screen is mirrored. Anyway, enemy commander, bad guy. You can't say cool. I just think enemy commander sounds like a just very solid snake thing to say. The triumvirate um, represent the highest authority of the Earth Federation government. They have ruled continuously for hundreds of years due to prolonged life through their cybernetic implants from the headlines. Cerebral implants also creating a single entity united in mind and purpose. It's just the DNC. I think the triumvirate would be cool if in another version of this game, in a DLC version of this game, crossover with the Mike Myers show, The Pentaveret, if they had the triumvirate replaced with the characters from the Pentaveret dealing with all of this. I think that'd be a really interesting take on the Contra universe. So there we go. You get the pause menu, you get the results screen. It tells you everything. It tells you everything. That's what these manuals did, and I really like it. Strategies. This is kind of cool. It gives you some strategies. For people that are having trouble completing a stage, please see below. Have you tried changing weapons? There are 6 different weapons available to you, and their use is the key to victory. Also remember that you can get rid of some enemy shots with the fire whip. Hit rate is important to get a good rating. Concentrate on increasing it. Remember that some enemies are not part of this destruction percentage, so avoid needless fighting when you can. That is the core to the ethos of Contra, is avoiding needless fighting when you can, of course. There are some enemies or objects that may look like scenery, but can actually be destroyed with a certain weapon. Use the homing missiles to identify these targets. Look around the screen from edge to edge to find hidden objects. Become adept at using the lock functions of R2 button and L2 button. Being able to use these firing patterns will be important. This is especially true while holding on to a missile or on the small helicopter. Sorry about this. Oh, I'm seeing messages, but I can't actually read them because the chat is there and it's not working for me. Oh yeah, pre-internet instruction manual. It's so good. This is like early. This is when, yeah, you could probably go on like a message board, right? I guess, and see it at this point. Look at the very end of the book. There's some credits. I'll read a few credits. But there's a I love, you get the thing at the little pamphlet at the end where you can fill out how many games you buy, and you get to be excited about that. And this one, this fancy one, is actually attached to it, which is pretty cool. I did not fill this one out. Who purchased the game? Mom, dad, grandparent, friend, you, other. I think that's pretty cool. What are your favorite magazines? Game Pro, PM, OPM, EGM, or Nintendo Power. What are your favorite hobbies? Team sports, skateboarding, movies, arcade gameplay, and collecting. I think this is very cool. I love these. I love these. You know what? Here you go. Talk about pre-internet. I'll say this real quick. Talk about pre-internet. The "How did you hear about this game" section on the little card. Internet does not appear to be one of them. Friend, TV, magazine review, game package in store, magazine ad, rented it, played or saw demo in store. I would say of those, today, the only ones that would still be like legit options are friend, played or saw demo in store, maybe. You know, you got those like you got some demos at the store. I get, but it's the same as it used to be. And TV, maybe. But yeah, it's very yeah, it's very weird. It's very weird. There's no internet. There's no saw it on X. Um, saw someone discussing it on Blue Sky, and went to the website that I use to buy video games, and it was delivered to me. I say all this out loud now, and I do want to go back. There's a part of me I do want to go back, only for the good stuff, though. These credits do not seem to include anybody from. Oh, there's Konami of America. Okay, so you get all the credits for the team in Japan. The game was produced and directed by Nobuya Nakazato. Um, and so thank you to Nobuya Nakazato for making objectively the best Contra game on the PlayStation 2, a system with no texture, which were the bold claims I was making earlier, and now I'm forced to live with forever. And then let's see here, any testers? Oh, we got some testers. This is a name that I find very familiar, and I don't know why. Luke Robichaud was a tester for this game for Konami of America. Mike Tang and Jason Aaron. There are special thanks to Yukako Hamaguchi, Rob Goff, Hiroki Muraoka, Akira Yamaoka, Tetsuya Hiyoshi, Nobuya Nakazato, Kenichiro Honda, Gozo Katao, Ashley Wood, Jamal Carter, Mark Ellis, Mike Klug, Keith Mateka, and to all Contra fans of yesterday and today. So there you go. The president, the president of Konami of America in whatever this was, 2000, 2002, was Tommy Gatsubo. Vice president of operations was Linda Stackpool. And there you go. So that's what we got. The producer, Ken Ogasawara, and Tammy Schachter was the senior manager of PR. So yeah, there we go. Luke Robichaud. Why does that name sound so familiar to me? Anyway, that's Contra Shattered Soldier. It's a game for the PlayStation 2. It features the most graphically impressive, it's the most graphically impressive Contra game from the original creator of the series. That's extremely subjective. Let's be very clear. Uh, I don't love it, but the Super Nintendo one looks pretty good, except for the Mode 7 effects. Here's another bold claim: Mode 7, terrible, in the bin. It's got to go. Mode 7, no thanks. Um, Two-player simultaneous mode. Full 3D environment using classic fast-paced 2D Contra gameplay. Advanced weaponry at your disposal, including a grenade launcher and flamethrower. Innovative and huge boss enemies, perfect for some alien bashing. And unlockable endings and levels, depending on player performance. So there we go. That's Contra Shattered Soldier, and that was Croc, Legend of the Gobos. Um, I think Contra did us pretty good for a game that I was expecting to read from until the last minute. So thank you, Contra Shattered Soldier, for yet again making my life even better, as it did when I lived in Florida, and it was 100 degrees for about a week in September, and our air conditioning died. All of our clothes got mildewed, and the TV that I had brought broke. because of the humidity, but the TV that my roommate had did not break, and our PlayStation 2 somehow made it through. So we played a bunch of Contra Shattered Soldier, um, and Time Splitters too, during that week. While the world outside was burning. So I'm grateful for that. So as the world burns in 2020, I hope that you enjoy some video games yourself. I'm gonna hop. I'm gonna go get ready for work. But thank you for coming, Chris. And I see another person is in there, so thank you both for joining. I'm gonna try to work some things out. Maybe I'll stick with this Wednesday time slot. I don't know. I'm open to feedback. I think feedback before. And I'm gonna, I'm not expecting this thing to get big or do anything, but it's just fun. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, have a great Wednesday.